Alrighty, let's roll. Hi, I'm Chris from Airwindows, and I am still working on all of my crazy studio things. Beware, if you wind up getting like better gear, sometimes your other gear expands to accommodate it. I need a bunch of these, and when you have like prosumer type stuff, your patch cords cost $6, and when you have big deal kind of stuff, your patch cords cost like $120 each. So I have all kinds of stuff going, but one of the things I'm rather happy about is I think I have solved the roboting problem with the voice. And that is because my microphone, which you can barely see, is now running into a proper preamplifier and through the studio system rather than trying to run it through the camera. So the camera gets to focus on only being a camera. And I think it's much happier that way. If anybody is building their own kind of rig for this sort of thing, I'm more than happy to answer your questions and things on like the Monday live stream. When I get power for the camera, I'll be able to actually do longer live streams again. But for now, it's going to be the little over an hour, but I can guarantee no roboting. And that makes me very happy. Also, hopefully it sounds good. Now, I have a plugin because this is what I do. I've got plugins for you. And the plugin that I've got is one of those ones that's very, very simple. And I'll show you what it is by firstly playing some music at you. And then meet ToMono. Comes in two forms, LeftoMono and RightoMono. And here's what they do. If you go LeftoMono, that's only the left channel. And then when you go RightoMono, that's only the right channel. That one's getting my hi-hat a little bit more. Now, why do such a thing? I'll tell you why when I shut off this noisy music. Here's what ToMono is for, and I have just made it irrelevant for myself, but I made it irrelevant for myself at the cost of like getting an adapter for the lavalier mic to go into a preamp and stuff like that. If you were recording using a camera and you had a lav plugged into the camera in such a way where it only went into one side and the other side ends up not contributing anything useful, you got a situation different from what I've got here. Like what I've got here is it's set up through the actual recording desk, so I can give you like one channel, or actually no, I can't because I've got silly me, my mic pad. No, wait, hang on a second. Okay, so I'm coming off of one side and then I'm coming off of the other side, yay. Because that's what an actual mixing board can do. But here's the thing. What if you only had the camera output? The camera output is only coming out of one channel. You've seen this on YouTube a billion times. That some poor sap has a recording and they think that they're doing well for themselves because they've got some kind of lav plugged in. But what they put up as a video is only on one side. So you say, okay, let's run this through a thing like OBS. I mean, you can just download OBS. It's an open broadcasting system. And like I've said before, it gives you some choices. And it says, do you want to make this be mono? And you're like, that's okay. What I'd really like to do is take just only the left and use that on both sides. And it goes, you want everything to be mono? And you're like, here's the problem. My right channel is garbage. My right channel is nothing. I have the lav plugged in and it's got its little TRS thing. It's getting power and it's producing output only on the left channel, meaning that the right channel, there's like little flecks of noise coming through it, but it's garbage. It's nothing. And also it's nothing that is the internal camera's preamplifier, so that's going to be a little noisier than a serious preamplifier. And the software just goes, so you want to make everything be mono? And you're like, okay. And you wind up with a centered mic audio, which is like 3 dB down, because you're converting things to mono and you're sort of adding them together, and they don't necessarily, I'm not sure if it's 3 dB down. It depends upon whether it functions like pan law, but the problem is fairly apparent. So what you need is a way of going like, okay, so that right channel, throw that away completely and replace it with the left channel. And that is what the ToMono plugins do. As you can see, there is absolutely no interface for them because there are no controls. It is just LeftoMono and RightoMono, or RightoMono, because the idea with that is like you want to be able to tell it, hey, just only use that channel. Never mind you're making it mono stuff. Just use that channel for everything. And you want the program to go, righto, here we go. So that's what it can do. It is a utility plugin, and it is what I would be using. In fact, the last couple of times I've done this sort of thing, I did literally use this for it and got a slight improvement in the audio up to the point where the camera preamp sending stuff over the HDMI cable started roboting and stuff. And I fixed all of that. But if I was still using it, or if I go and start recording stuff, you know, like going around the house or going, I recently went to a modular / synthesizer fanciers fest at Hampshire College that I went to like 30 years ago, briefly. And I could have brought this camera and recorded stuff with that lav, and if I had done so, I would still be grappling with the same problem of like, okay, how do I take just only the one channel and make that be mono? And this is the answer. It is totally and completely lossless in that I could take a stack of these and just keep adding them, like LeftoMono into RightoMono, into LeftoMono, into RightoMono, into LeftoMono, and I could keep on doing that all day long without any loss in sound quality, even to the point of dithering, because it is such a fundamental plugin that it's kind of like bit shift gain. I have to be careful to say that because YouTube will censor me if it thinks that I'm saying a naughty word. It's very much like that in that it's the kind of thing where what I'm doing is so close to the raw input word coming in that you don't need to do anything fancy with it whatsoever. All we're asking it to do is take that one input stream, literally copy it over to the other input stream and be done. And that's what it does. So it's hard to say how excited people are going to get over this one. Technically these two, but it's under the name of ToMono. It's like, this is not exactly exciting, and I'm not going to find it terribly useful because I've had enough problems with the preamp of this camera and its tendency to want to make stuff be robot voice. I think there's undoubtedly something that I can do to tell it to like not push as many pixels or something. And it's all about going over the HDMI because I'm pretty sure I could capture to the card and be fine. And I could be capturing this to the card except for that I need to have audio for like my heavy rock and roll and all that kind of stuff. So we do what we can. I'm developing a lot of expertise in putting together sort of what you might call high-end video setups for blogging and YouTubing and stuff, basically because I have to. Like, this is late 2019, and I really feel like the way the world works with all this kind of stuff is you have to up your game and look all cool and professional and stuff, or you just get brushed aside, regardless of how useful you're being. You know, the look and feel of things have to step up a notch to keep up. Except for, yeah, that's maybe not the most spectacular look and feel of a plugin. There's literally nothing there. But there doesn't need to be anything there for this. This is such a basic utility plugin that it can be incredibly low overhead, and there's a place for that as well. So we'll settle for the plugin being incredibly low overhead and dealing with this elaborate studio rig and the beautiful video quality and all of that kind of stuff. Well, I hope it's beautiful video quality at this stage, and beautiful audio quality, because of course that's what I do. And it's essentially the same set of expertise that lets me get a microphone capture and put it through to YouTube in such a way that it's extremely impressive and sounds spot on. And that's a combination of like picking out good things like this little Shure lavalier, running through a real preamplifier, being able to pick stuff like that out, getting it into the computer. I'm getting to the point where I'd be able to do mixing and mastering for people and get away with it, have that be up to a professional standard. And then whatever other details, and I do provide those other details in software. For instance, the thing that's keeping my levels in check off of a literally raw microphone input that has nothing in hardware that's managing it. Before, the camera was doing a certain amount of automatic gain control. Now the camera is not, but my plug-in curve is. And I could be pulling out recurve if it turns out that this one doesn't have my voice loud enough for when I'm talking soft and low. And I know people like me talking soft and low because they say, oh, it's like one of those channels of women eating cornflakes or something horrible like that over a microphone that's far too close. Whatever. Point being, I'm trying to bring things up a notch because Patreon has enabled me to do it. I've been able to throw basically all the Patreon towards studio developments recently, and that is the incredible liberty. May not continue forever, but it's an incredible liberty. And as such, I'm not only doing things, but I'm also learning about things, and I hope to be able to tell you how to do it in turn. If you get the opportunity, or even if you wind up wanting to do stuff and are on a shoestring, I'll support you however I can with, the plugins and any knowledge I can come up with. So that's probably all I need to talk about for this plugin. The ToMono plugins are pretty simple, so there's not that much to say about them. And I have already mentioned the Patreon. If you would buy these for $50, that'd be kind of crazy because this is the kind of stuff that I would put out for free. But if you like me continuing to push the limits of all this stuff, like, do you want me to give you a plugin that gives you the sound of this expensive adapter? Well, actually, that's really easy. ToMono will do that because the reason I'm getting this expensive adapter is because it essentially has no sound at all. It's expensive even though it's tiny, but since it's so short and since it has really good cable and really good, like Switchcraft, nitric jacks, but it isn't going to sound like anything. But I'll keep on doing the work on things. And I appreciate your support. So if you want to support me, go ahead and kick in another $50 or another $10 a year or $1 or whatever. $12 a year would be $1 a month. Point being, that is the avenue I'm currently using. If anything goes wrong with it, I'll find another one. And your support helps me do this full-time, full-on, as hard as I possibly can. And I would like to believe there are benefits to all of us for doing that. There's certainly benefits for me because I enjoy doing this for a living. I don't want to stop, and I don't intend to stop. And if people don't like me putting out this many plugins and doing this much stuff, well, then there's a million other YouTube channels to look at. Go and look at those. Also, speaking of YouTube channels and things, it benefits me to do YouTube streaming a little bit more often, but it's sometimes, like, I wouldn't be able to do 2 plugins a week, and that'd be kind of hard to choke down anyway. So what I might end up doing is just sort of derping around on YouTube days that are not Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, because or Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. Sunday is plugin. Monday is the live stream where I answer questions, and that'll return to being a longer one when the camera doesn't run out of batteries in the middle of it. And it won't robot voice from now on because I've got that fixed. And then Tuesday is a live music stream of all manner of weird stuff. I actually have a wonderful opportunity for getting into some super ambient things because I have designed a way to run MIDI verbs into each other and double the algorithm they're using. It works better if you're using the same algorithm for both. So I can put out essentially like 20-minute reverb tails practically. They're just ridiculous. And that might lead me to doing more of that. I'm also into like crazy Berghain techno, just super stark and abstract stuff, or house music, which follows interesting chord progressions, and I'm working on all of these things. And then if I add other ones, I'm probably going to be derping around in Minecraft, frankly. And you can join me or not. Doesn't really matter. All that matters is if I come up with ways to be on YouTube streaming more often in a regular way. YouTube tends to like that kind of behavior. They like you doing stuff, and they're not all that worried about exactly what. So I'll see what I can do. There might be some of that showing up. But for now, I'm experimenting with a more high-quality capture out of OBS for doing all of this. And I am using up lots of space doing that. So essentially what I need to do is go, hey, enjoy the background noise of people circular sawing in the background. In the dark, too. Daylight savings time has happened. You hear that? That's how good my new microphones are. That sound interference comes through more easily. I assume you probably are going to be able to hear that. And I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.